So, to tonight, we've got what is now becoming an annual battle with Evolve. 25 images from each club. And I'd like also to welcome our judge for the evening, Tillman Kleinhans. Oh, we've got to go through all these.
Yep.
No. ARPS, EFIAP, DPHEB, BP5, HON, LCPU. There you go. That's as quick as I'm going to go through it. Member of St Helens Camera Club, and somewhere in the documentation it said esteemed judge.
Esteemed, yes.
Perhaps we'll say,
new one on me.
We'll perhaps
better than a bride.
what esteemed one?
Esteemed judge.
We'll make that decision later on, shall we? Okay. So I'm going to hand over to Tillman, and I hope you enjoy the evening. And it's worth us fighting our way through the snow. We will have a break halfway through. We do have some sandwiches and cakes and things, and teas and coffees to avail yourself of for later on. I'm president now, you know. So, over to Mike, over to Tillman.
Right.
Okay,
well, good evening everybody, and we'll have a go. Not going to hang about tonight, because got to get home before we get blocked in. So,
it'll be raining a bit.
With a bit of luck. Yeah, whatever.
Want the light off, Bob?
It's, yeah.
Yeah, plunges into dark.
Right, I've had a quick, well, not a quick look, I've had a good look at all these. I've made some preliminary judgments. Final judgment will be based on what actually appears up here. So,
Right.
I'm looking at this for me information.
Shall we have a look through them all first?
You're more than welcome to, that'll save some time.
Yeah, right, we'll have a look through.
Yeah, and I'll have a look at them as well.
Right.
Okay.
It's all yours, Tillman.
Thank you very much indeed. Yes. Right. Say, I tell you what, I'll have a go.
Hey, get you serious now.
I just feel restrained with that old straight jacket. Okay. You fired up the Quattro, away we
There
go.
you go.
So we should.
Shield mantis.
Right, we've got a shield mantis here. Nice sort of background. I mean, look at this sort of the colour of it. The colour harmony all works well. It stands out nicely from the background. Shape's good, about the right size. Maybe a little bit too much space at the top. Not convinced that it's 100% sharp all the way over. Just losing out a tiny bit. But I think it's a reasonably good image. 15 marks. Now, obviously, 15.
Yeah.
Obviously, when you have club battles and things, everybody puts in what they think are their good ones because they want to win. So, as you've already seen, there's quite a range of images, different styles, but they're also all quite good. So, being a bit harsh maybe with the marks, just to spread them out a little bit at times. That's my excuse, and I'm getting away with it. Right.
Right. Daniela Williams hurdles.
Yeah, interesting shot this, because having a look at the hurdles, quite often we see people doing the hurdles, you can't always see the left leg completely, can you, Kath? So here we actually can see a bit of the shoe, which gives us some idea that there is actually a leg attached completely. The expression on the face is good, but once again, I'm not sure that the sharpness is exactly on the face. Shutter speed maybe could have been a little bit higher. If you look at the face, it just doesn't have quite say the same sharpness as the word Trafford at the bottom, not the bottom one, that one there. It just doesn't quite hit the spot. But I think the timing was good, perhaps just that extra bit of shutter speed to absolutely freeze it. 15 marks again.
15.
Right.
Viking.
We've got a Viking here. Can't complain about the quality in terms of sharpness, etc. All the technical bits seems to work very well indeed. The image itself, it's a good pose, and actually, when you look at it, it actually has something a little bit more about it. Rather than just being a good photo, it actually begins to engage with you. In which case, it becomes perhaps that little bit better. So we'll hold that one back, Mike, please.
Hold Viking. Coming up for air.
Right, yeah, the crop is good, isn't it? Just straight in on the face. And it tends to be sharp where it needs to be. You've got no chance of getting any eyes in it because of the goggles and what have you. But you can see that it's reasonably sharp. I mean, the teeth, you could probably count how many teeth you've got. You've made the image symmetrical. It's not always easy to do. You've got to get down low to take the photograph. Plenty of water. You've captured what the image is all about. Probably the high point when doing butterfly, is it? Whatever it's called. So good image, particularly with the good crop. And I think you've got just the right amount of skin to balance out all the blue in it. So 16 marks. 16.
Ophelia.
Right, interesting one here, because you've got the great image at the top, which in fact, if you cut it off across, the waterline, as it were, across there, you get a good image. And then you've added the reflection underneath, whether it's a real reflection or creative reflection. It looks a little bit creative there, but it still works. It still gives the impression of what's going on. And I think the shape works well, but the colours are good, aren't they? When you look at the green of the dress, and that mates with the green of the background, and yet the background is beautifully controlled. So it's not a bad image at all. And then the red hair, which absolutely sort of makes the face stand out. A little bit of highlight maybe on some parts of the upper body, maybe that just needs toning down a bit, but the shadow, the reflection never gets in the way. But does it add to it? I think it does, because it gives you that nice complete circle. So 17 marks.
17. Yeah, Latin name of
Yeah.
flies mating.
The mating anyway.
Yeah.
Whatever it is. Right, once again, tricky with these because you've got to get in close, and once you get in close, you've got to try and keep the sharpness, and then you've got to sort of fill the frame with them. All right, you've got to give them a bit of space as well. Maybe there's a little bit too much space around them, maybe not. That's probably a bit personal. The background is good, it's clean, it's clear, it's neutral, doesn't get in the way. I like the one bit of leaf that just comes up from there, and that's reasonably sharp in keeping with the insects, whatever they're doing. But not once again, I think because we've got in so close, we're looking at really, really fine detail in there, and it's just not quite making it as sharp as perhaps it could be, or apparently could be. And look at some other images later on, and they tend to have that little bit of just snap about it. So 16 marks.
16. Survivors.
Right. Kind of thing you'd find on cover of Radio Times to advertise the latest blockbuster serial. There it is. It's a good concept. Like the idea behind it. The figures, I don't know, this is the bit, the figures look a bit staged to me. Well, the whole thing obviously is staged, but somehow or another it doesn't have a reality about it. The lady at the front, pregnant lady, she does stand out almost 3D, particularly around the bump there. It just doesn't seem to be any 3D depth to the image, and that takes the edge off it. It's a great concept. The figures with the warrior paint on it works well. The garage from North Wales blended in beautifully and what have you, and the almost monochrome, you do get sort of post-apocalyptic feel for it, but I think it just doesn't quite make it there. But nevertheless, well done, well seen, well thought out. 17 marks.
17. A Night in the Abbey.
All right, yeah, found it. Okay, when you compare this one to the one that's just gone, it's once again, your brain, well, not your brain, but you think, all right, it's a composite, but somehow or another it doesn't look quite as staged, and there seems to be more depth, whether it's because this edge here is a little bit more blended in, softened. It's not a harsh reality, it doesn't look quite so cut out. It has more depth to it. The characterization works well, and the makeup, it has been put on sympathetically, but has been photographed really well. The texture is all there, the detail. I was talking about detail before. When you look at all the curls in there, it all works together. Just a little bit of red in the shirt, just to liven it up, and of course the big red eye takes you straight to it. Cracking image, so we better have another look at that one, Mike.
Hold that one.
So,
The Intruder.
right, yeah. It's set up, staged, call it what you like, there, and I mean, it's got what some people look for, the narrative in it. There's a story behind it, although we don't know the full story. At least we can start to make it up. Once again, for me, I think it's a little bit static. Technically, it seems to be sharp, and most of the tones are there. Look at the whites aren't burnt out, detail in the trousers, although it does go quite dark in the bottom right-hand corner there, and I'm not sure if we needed all this space over here. The figure, the menacing figure there, yeah, he's sort of rendered slightly darker because he's the baddie in it. But the window, I don't know, a little bit bright with the sun, nice little sunset in it. Should that be, I don't know, a little bit more broody? But the whole thing for me just doesn't quite tie together. So that one got, where is it, 15.
15. Dear Falcon with Prey.
Right. Red, cracking image, it's once again, exposure spot on, background is real but neutral, crop fits it perfectly. everything seems to be, once again, in the right place. Oh, there we go. Yeah, everything's in the right place. Composition terms works well. Base is not too big in it, and it's got a nice sort of hardness and depth to it. I do like the link between the prey and the predator, with the half its guts being pulled out. The bit for me that just takes the edge off it is the eye, because there doesn't seem to be any detail in the eye in terms of shading or catch light, and I felt that I'm sure that somewhere you can do that and get away with it. And all it needs for me, just to give it that little bit of sparkle to say, yes, I am alive. Just that touch in it. Otherwise, a great image. 17 marks.
17. Imperial War Museum.
Yeah, nice warm landscape, just what you need on a cold night like tonight. First impressions were wrong format, should have been a much narrower format, aspect ratio. But of course, on second viewing, you look at that and you think, no, the landscape is right. The extra reflection at the bottom there, I think that adds a little bit of extra warmth to the image, and it's a beautiful blend of the gold and blues. So that one gets 16.
16. White-tailed eagle.
Yeah, you get a whole lot of these images because, you know, people are putting in their guns, and there it is, coming straight out of the water. Plenty of action dynamics with the flow splash of the water there. Look at the bird itself, everything seems to be sharp, shutter speed good enough to even the feathers right on the left hand wing there, flipping up, and it's got that nice and sharp, but not enough to totally freeze the water. Look, you can see it's still streaked there, so good action in it. One wing backlit, great, and yet you still manage to get detail in it, and the key point is you've got an eye showing as well, and you can see the pupil as well as everything else, so it's got the life about it, the thing that you can sort of link to that perhaps the falcon that we saw earlier didn't have. So yeah, that's what am I up to? Yeah, great image. 17 marks.
17. Sailor's Lament.
Sailor's Lament, yes. Very good. The thing about this one, I think it works brilliantly. One of the better ones of Graham that I've seen for a while. The expression works well, and the lighting is just about right for me. The detail in the beard doesn't get not overblown, eyes looking at you can make contact, detail and texture, the well-worn coat, it's there, isn't it? And it stands out, not too dark. The buttons, even the shiny buttons, don't get in the way. The darker, very toned background with the darker area there, you can link with it. So 17 marks for that one.
17. Let's start work.
Yeah, it's a thought, isn't it? It's got some humour in it, and exposure works well, but the background is good, and it's a sort of natural background, so it works well with the bird and the spade or fork handle. But I mean, for me, it's just been a little bit over enlarged. I'm sure that the image is quite sharp, but the degree of enlargement is starting to cause problems around the edges. You can see artifacts sort of around there, and the pixelation effect just takes the edge off what was otherwise been a cracking image. So 15 marks.
15. Stone curlew in water.
Yeah, I mean, the detail in that is fabulous. Once again, there's a full detail in the eye, the position of the bird, looking over to the left, space on the left, the muted colours. As well as being a great sort of natural history image, it's got a nice pictorial feel to it. There's lighting is nice and soft. who'd have thought you get a little bit of pinky hue in a nature image in the background, which is normally green or brown or something like that, and yet there it is, and it complements the image, and it's a nice, soft in terms of gentle, but detailed and hard where it needs to be. So can we have another look at the stone curling, please?
We can. Pigeon Towers.
Right, there you go. I remember looking at this, judging this as another competition. And I like the concept. I love the vertical concept if you're going up. I love the sort of graphic geometry of the buildings. I think that works well. As an image, I normally expect to see an airplane flying across the top, because that's what seems to be the thing that you put in. But here, you've got the bird. And the bird, to me, there, and because it's not at the top, because it's down, you can see the detail in the bird, and it's got, it's only so far because you can actually see the size of it. It's trapped, and you get that feeling of claustrophobia, of what it might be like. Birds should be able to fly and be free. You've got a reflection of it, and the reflection at least says there's a pretty damn good chance that bird is actually there. And so I think, as well as being a technically good image, monochrome works well because it just gives you the hard facts about it. But to me, it also makes a social comment about the idea of being trapped, somebody being trapped, people being trapped by high-rise buildings. So we'll have to have another look at that one, Mike, while I make my mind up.
Hold that one. Magpie Landing.
Yeah, great photograph of the magpie. Plenty of detail, no burnt out bits in the highlights, just about holding the tone, just about getting a bit of detail in it. Similarly with the blacks. All right, you might not get any detail here, but at least you've got sort of the feel of texture in it. The shape is wonderful, just about sharp round there, and a little bit of blur on the wings, which is great because it shows that it actually is moving. And it's once again, the background, the colour, the exposure, absolutely great. It says it's landing, and then right in the bottom left hand corner you've got this blurred piece of wood, and to me, I'm not sure that's there, I don't know why it's there. It's got its claws round some sort of, oh no, I thought that was a other thing, but it's got its claws waiting to land on that. Yes, it's the bird, but it's too far for it to go in the image, and it's out of focus, and there's only a bit of it. I think you'd be better off without that there, just a photograph of the bird. So the magpie landing, for me, just gets 16 because I'm not sure you need the bottom. 16.
16.
1-6.
16. 16. Mantis on leaf.
Yeah, another mantis. Here we go. That one's sort of, they've got character, haven't they, these things? They look at you and they go, what? How do you? And there it is, sitting on the leaf, and the leaf, similar colorization to the back of it there, works very well. And there you go, once again with those pinky colours in the background. There's a lot of background there. Is that there to sort of say, look, the creature's quite small, could it crop? Maybe, but then would it have been too over enlarged and lost a little bit? It's a little, it's something you have to sort of 6 of one and half a dozen of the other type of thing. But it's exposed very, very well. You've got eye contact with it. Nice, I've got to say, nice expression, but nice little pose. 16 marks.
16. The Dancer.
Right, there you go. Once again, another nice composition. Exposure, yeah, I think the exposure's okay. You've got the continuous background, just about got a sort of fold in it, so you can get some bit of 3D depth in the image, and the use of the dark and light tones helps the dancer stand out. Is it dynamic enough? Is it quite special enough compared to some of the other images we've seen? The aspect ratio is good, and you've got the composition great, and the swirl is all good, but does it have that little bit extra? I'm not 100% sure, so 16 marks.
16.
And 6.
Woodpecker takeoff.
There we go. and you put, you know, he's probably landed and gone, ow, oh, I'm off. Right, there you go. Yeah, there you go. You've got the nice little shrine at the bottom, pointing away, so it's a little bit better. Perhaps that bit of wood actually does something to the image. It's sharp, so it becomes part of the image, part of the main subject area. Once again, background is sympathetic and natural, catch light in the eye, detail everywhere. But once again, is it quite different enough? Has it gone from being sort of technically good and what we'd expect to something being that little bit more? Maybe yes, just because the position of that, and if you think about it like I do in a funny way, then you have a little giggle, and I think that sort of makes it just that little bit better. So I've upped the mark to 17.
17. Emphys lividia on grass stem.
Yeah, whatever.
Or something like that.
Yeah, I'm with you. It'll do. Right. Once again, I think the coloration is good. Tones all work wonderfully well. It's quite a harmonious colouring, isn't it, when you think about it? Where's the blue? There doesn't seem to be any blue, and yet the whole thing still works naturally. It's not overwarm. The greens are just about holding it down because the insect itself is reds and browns and lovely golden colours, and there's a lot of detail in there. And I think that one, of all the ones we've seen, is one of the ones where the detail is actually being held, and you can look at, you know, there's some sort of sense of structure in that part. Just about holding its own. But what I like is the natural bit that runs up the right hand third there, with the little bits of buds and what have you, and then just behind that little twig there's the stem, which is a little bit maybe on the bright side, but just about holding it. But talking about holding it, we'll hold it. Thank you.
Okay, we'll hold that one.
That's that one, isn't it?
Yep. Jack, row bottom right cross.
All right, then. Just check. Sorry. Yeah, no, we're right. Right. Yeah. I think I've seen this one before as well. And one thing I like about this actually has got a background. It's muted. There's people there. It's a live event. Away we go. To a certain extent, it shows the brutality of the sport. I must admit, I'm not a great fan of boxing, but I also like the idea that it's in monochrome as well. So once again, it takes a little bit of the reality away from it, isolates it that little bit. Just one or two odd things, like you look down the legs, and there's the highlight line running around the back of each leg. So that just sort of stands out a little bit. But when you consider the lighting, and you look at the vest and the trunks that they're wearing, there's plenty of detail in those blacks, and none of the skin tones are burnt out. There's a little bit perhaps on the gentleman on the right socks, but apart from that, and I do like your composition. You filled the frame, you've timed it well. When there's some action, when you can actually see, it looks as though poor lad here feeling the pain of that punch, and yet you've got the ropes which come in, don't get in the way, but just there enough to sort of state the boxing ring. And I think you've done well with the people in the background. Hold on to it, please.
I'll hold that one. Spices on slate.
Right, there you go. Yeah, it's something different. It's quite dark, and I thought, well, yeah, okay, but the bit of paper goes quite dingy. Maybe that's what it's meant to be. The whole effect. I'm not sure that it needs those lighter bits on the edge. I think it would have been better if the end of the picture just blended into the black of the screen there, and maybe that certainly takes the edge off it, I think. But the composition, yeah, and maybe there's too much in there. The 3 spoons each with different spices on, then you got some leaves up there, a coffee can of some nuts, whatever, and then different. I think it's just too much on it. I like the texture, but I think some of it is a little bit on the dark side, and those lines don't do anything for me. And just, I think, a little bit too close to that edge. So 15.
15. More candles.
Yeah, there we go. Try and find it. Here. Yeah, got it. Right. Don't know what it is because I don't know about this one. Yeah. The thing about this one is quite dramatic. Lighting, I think, is very, very good indeed. I think the lighting is very, very sympathetic. Probably done by the available light. They probably could know. But everything else works well. And notice it's not over faced with bits. You haven't got extra bits on the table. You just got the 4 candles and the skull. And that sets the scene. To me, it's actually quite a spooky image. And when you look at some other bits on it, you look at this candle at the bottom, it actually looks like a hand creeping over the edge, thing or something like that, and a little wisp of smoke coming up there, a bit of mystery. I think that's been put together very, very well, technically and aesthetically, and it's got that little bit something that elevates it. Okay, Mike, we'll have that one for later. Something to look forward to.
We'll hold that one, click on the right button, hold that one. Dung flies mating. I can do
I must
that.
admit, before I went to the dung flies mating, I just loved the shape of that leaf, like a ski slope, where it comes up and then just goes all the way down there. And you can imagine, you know, they're on there doing their mating, and she, whichever way, I don't know which way around, I don't even know, but, you know, gripping like hell because off they go. But it adds a little bit of dynamics to the image. And of course the colours work well, background is good, detail, I think you've got the insect big enough. Some people may say it's over enlarged, I don't think so, because you've managed to get it that big without causing all the problems of artifacts and pixelation and what have you. You've got the detail with it, so 17 marks.
17.
1-7.
Barn owl screeching.
I know, there it goes, making a noise. Good job you can't hear it. Very natural again, background, nice and dark, but very natural. The owl itself, nice and light, mostly detailed, stands out nicely. Yeah, you've got a nice branch going across the bottom, there's the perch, gives a little bit of base solid to the image, makes a little bit static, but, and then, I don't know about the twig coming up in the corner there, and it just crosses over into the, covers the owl's head. I wasn't 100% convinced about that. And at least it's got detail in the eyes, so live, and you can, you know, it's got that look in the eyes, you can look at it, and the beak is actually apart. So if you say it's screeching, then fair dues and screeching. I suppose when you look at this and you think you can actually hear the noise coming out of it. Mostly detailed in there, might just be a little bit of detail missing, but the sharpness is okay. 16 marks.
16. Hard times.
Oh yes. Right. Yeah, just found this one a little bit static for me. Very sort of central composition. I know it's a triangular shape as well, with the eyes looking out to one side. And I don't know, there was just something about it which I couldn't get to separate the lady from the background easily, and I wasn't convinced about the sharpness of it overall. And you go down here, and then it starts to pick up and becomes light again. And the missing needle there, just a little bit over bright. This one I felt really was just for me, and once again, you've got to remember a lot of this is subjective. What I think is not necessarily what most of you think, is just didn't quite make it a little bit over light on the left hand side, on the right hand side over there. So sorry, 14.
14. Devoted.
Right, there we go. Yeah, right. I'm talking about narrative. And I mean, this one has got some narrative about it, him and his dogs, and the title tells you, and there is a link, isn't there, between them, the dogs looking up there, him with his arms crossed, like that. So there is a link. There's a nice shape as well, which comes down, sort of triangular shape, and almost the dogs are almost symmetrical as well. But the background, yeah, it's nicely vignetted. There is some detail in the back, but I think the symmetrical aspect of the background, for me, once again, just doesn't work, because you look at the top of his head and sort of like crosses coming out of his head there. I think they perhaps could have been a little bit softer in it. But I did, as I say, I like the narrative. The three faces do stand out, his and the dogs. Is that stating which of them is dominant? The dogs, there's two dogs and they're lighter faces, so are they the dominant species? Is it the person who's devoted to who? There is that sort of thing going on. 16 marks.
16.
6.
Summer breeze.
No, I didn't know whether that was the title or her name. Right. Somebody will get that. There we go. Right. Yeah. It is. It's a nice picture of her. She's smiling. It's jolly. I like the expression on her face. I like the little jaunty tilt on the hat. Hands out, swinging away merrily. Background works well. Doesn't get in the way. In fact, it frames her nicely with the light and the path coming all the way down through it. There. It's a good, jolly portrait. As I say, there's a slight softness to it, which is fine because it adds a little bit of delicacy to it. Could the eyes have been lightened just that little bit? You have got some of the brightest parts just over that area there. I think the shadow under the hat could have been lightened a little bit just to project her face a little bit more. I do like to say that the dark ring that goes around works well. And I like the way it's slightly offset to one side. 16 marks.
16. Valley of Desolation waterfall.
Yeah, right. Like this one here. The interesting thing about showing this now is the thermals created by that are actually giving some movement to the water. So we have to bear that in mind. But I think the image it works well in black and white. It's a nice monochrome image. I think you shutter speed just about right, so you've got some texture, some variation of tone in the waterfall. The splash pool is not totally burnt out, that works. You've got these in the foreground. I think you're vying with the main part of the subject with me. If you did tap those in the foreground and just have the waterfall, would it have a little bit more strength in that, or do you need those to give it a good strong base? That was the bit I was working on, and I felt just up this side here a little bit too contrasting, and it could have been, I think it could have been darkened down. See how that's a little bit darker. If these little bits here had been that depth, I think that would have been that depth as well. I think it would have a little bit more about it, but the vertical format works well. So the Valley of Desolation, 15.
15. Another place.
Right, there we go. Yeah, well, I mean, I have seen quite a few images of Crosby Beach like this, and I'm not sure that this one has that much difference to it. I appreciate the fact that you've got the warm tones at the bottom and the cooler tones at the top, so you've got a balance there, and the sort of the blend from sort of warmer to sort of even cooler tones within the body works. Then you've got the juxtaposition between the bit there, wherever it is, the waterbar liner and the figure. But for me, it needed something a bit more. Does it need all that sky? Is one way of sort of using it. Should it be a little bit more dramatic? I think it needs to be something doing it just to make it stand out a little bit more. Not just for the image to stand out, but to stand out against all the other images, the ones we've had before and the ones that are coming along. you've got the subject, and I'm sure that with a little bit of time and patience and thought, that could be improved to give it that impact I think that it needs. So 14 marks, 1-4.
14. Emphis something or other.
Yeah, it's one of them
Another
again.
fly.
Yeah, it's a dance fly. Right, it's quite big in the frame. Yeah, I can live with that. And you've got depth of field which spans from here to there. Well, let's say the depth of field gives you a variation of sharp here to there. But it's another one of those buts, because when you look at this area here, it just doesn't seem particularly sharp. This particular thorax area, the detail in it, it's there, but it's mushy. Especially compared to some of the others. I can't work it out because it seems to be relatively not too bad here, just not quite. Whether the camera wasn't square on, slightly twisted, I'm not sure. We've got some bits of detail there, even that's a little bit on the soft side. So it's a great colour, it's a great composition, but just a little bit soft, particularly in that mid area. 15.
15. Crusader.
Crusader. Right. Composite, one feels, but once again, it's one of those ones where the foreground tends to blend with the background and it doesn't look 3D cut out. There seems to be some, well, there's obviously the link between the castle and the Crusader, that works. And like, it's important to make sure you choose how much of the subject you want. So you're going from the head to the elbow, and I think that works because what you've done there, you've got the elbow almost resting on the bottom, so it gives the thing support and makes it a little bit believable about it. The brightest part is just the beard, but at least the eyes are clear, so you will go to those automatically. Sharpness, sharp exactly where it should be, chainmail, everything. Tones, I love the dirty, gritty hands about it, and then, you know, even the sort of red jewel there doesn't get in the way, but it's there. Works with it, suitably darkened, enough in the background, links together, worth another look, Mike.
Okay, hold that one. Vulture showing dominance.
Right. What have we got here? Vulture showing dominance. Right, there you go. I mean, look at that desert, and you've got a heat haze to go with it as well. Works well. The thing that got me about this one, well, to start, the colour harmony. It's a desert type place, all works well. It's actually believable. Quite often you get images which are sort of all one colourish, more or less, and it just doesn't work. But this seems to work together. And the fact that there's two looking at each other, one larger, one smaller, makes it a little bit better. But when the title tells you vulture showing dominance or something, and when you look at it, you look at the big one, and you think to yourself, bloody hell, I would not want to be sort of with that look. I mean, if I could have had that look when I was a teacher, I would never have any trouble with the kids. I mean, it really does. Even though he's given the little one, or she's given the little one hell of a telling off. So that actually works. And you like the link as well, sort of the thing that goes through like that. Eye to eye, and away you go. Detail, everything, great. 17 marks.
17.
What time are we finishing?
Sprint to the finish line. What, another 5 minutes?
Okay.
Yeah.
Right, sprint to the finishing line. There we go. Once again, plenty of heat haze, but nice dynamics. Look at the angle there. You know, good 40 degrees angle with the rider. Plenty of movement from the back wheel with all the dust and mud kicked up. Bits of text at the bottom. Background doesn't get in the way. It suggests maybe a lonely sort of place to be riding your bike. Dark areas, just about holding their own. Light areas, once again, you've got little bits sort of burnt out here and there, what have you. But if it wasn't for the motion here, it could be standing still, particularly because it's got a foot on the ground, because there's no movement in the wheels at all. They're rock steady, so it just lacks that little bit of dynamics. I mean, fair dues, I suppose it could be standing still and sliding round, but 15 marks.
15. Family portrait, baboons.
Yeah, there you go. Right. I think images have got to, one, be technically good, and the technique has got to suit the subject and what have you, be sharp where it needs to be sharp, etc. And then it's got to be some more. And you got to sort of look into the image, and remember, images are all about communication. They communicate with you. And with that one, you get, to me, the link between them. They are together. And the elder one, one presumes the elder, the larger one, is protective of the smaller one. And the shape, the colour against the background. I think it all works really, really well. And I have to say that I really liked that image. When I looked at it, it sort of gelled with me instantly. And that's the subjective side of it. So, family portrait is also held back.
Okay, hold that one.
Stop there, man.
You want to stop there?
Okay. Right, so we stop.
You ready to start again, Tilman?
I am. What are we up to, Mike? 36?
Oh, I can't remember.
You've done quite well.
No,
so-
37.
Right.
Yeah, you're 37.
Okay, doke. Yep. We've just done 36.
Gentlemen, could you hit the lights, please?
That's the one. Thank you.
What? Right, here we go. Okay, we're up to number 36. Portrait, no.
37.
We're up to 37. Penny for your thoughts. Right, yeah, once again, I think this is a good technical image. It's sharp where it needs to be. In fact, it's quite sharp where it needs to be. There's detail, the shirt's not burnt out. I like the little puff of smoke coming out of his pipe. It happens to be the brightest part of the image, which sort of detracts from the face. The expression on the face, I'm not so sure about. And I think the image itself is a little bit static for me. And the sort of bright part tends to be behind the typewriter, sort of emphasising the typewriter. But fair to say, at least you haven't got lots of objects added on that table, but a little bit too static, and maybe this hand at the bottom could have done with just toning down a little bit. So 15 marks.
15. Portrait of a girl in red.
Right.
I'm going to turn it down.
Okay, yeah, once again, technically, brilliant image, nothing wrong, detail exactly where it should be. Look at the headrest, you can see the texture of the material. Background, I'm going to be absolutely honest here. I found the background more interesting simply because it looks very sort of, looks like it's a big piece of art or something like that. It's got texture and everything in it, and I was wondering, which grandmaster that was or something like that, and then realised the main subject is the girl. The girl is beautifully rendered, detail, as I said, exactly where it needs to be. She's red, stands out nicely, eyes very bold, very bright. I'm not 100% convinced about the pose and the expression on the face. They're technically good, but I think that for me, the background dominates. So 16.
16. Red wing on holly.
Right, yeah. Sharpish image. Bird's actually doing something, got a berry in its mouth. But for me, here, the bird is right smack in the middle. You've got the twig is leaning on going upwards, and then you've got all this light area, bottom left, and I think you don't need that. And if you end the image so that that's not included, the bird goes nearer to one edge, looking towards the other, and the diagonal takes you up. I think it improves the composition no end. Technically okay, but we definitely need something doing with that left hand side. Where are we? 15 marks.
15. Liverpool, night and day.
Yeah, Liverpool night and day. Good idea. I like the idea. I think it's a clever idea. But little bit, the top bit, the day bit, I think is just a little bit too saturated. I think the night bit looks good, and whether you try to sort of balance the depth by having sort of saturated sort of colours in the top, but the top doesn't look natural enough. It looks just that little bit too emphasised, whereas the bottom part looks very good indeed. And it's a good idea, and I like the way you've lined it up perfectly as well. So very well done. But just, I think if this was just desaturated just a tad, I think it would have been a far superior image. So 16 marks.
16. Mating blowflies.
There's a lot of insects in there.
Oh yes.
There we go. Once again, nice base, all natural colours, exposure, spot on. Detail, yeah, once again, I think it's pretty good in this one. You can see the sort of iridescent colours, you can see the detail in the hairs and what have you. Not quite as sharp on this side here as it is on that side, but if you stand back enough, of course, it becomes more than acceptable. 16 marks.
16. Turning Japanese.
Yeah, another one where the monochrome actually works. Here, no distractions, and the texture in the beard, the texture in the hair, all works very well indeed. The face is the brightest part. The forehead maybe just a tad, a little bit too bright, but the eyes again, and I like the little Sir George's slant on the eyes. Composition nicely over to one side, and I like the way it comes down and you just get a little bit of the legs moving across to make a nice stable base for the image. Fits in very well, nice variated background, the head stands out nicely, and no loss of detail anywhere. So good image. 17.
17. Autumn colours.
Right, very autumnal. Here we go. Once again, typical with still life. You know, it's a static image, and you've got to do a lot to work it to get it to sort of have a little bit of something about it. Here, you've gone for the warm autumnal colours, and to a certain extent, it works. But for me, the lighting is quite generic in as much as it lights every little bit up. It doesn't emphasise any detail, doesn't emphasise any particular shapes. But you have to admit the colour harmony is nice. It's not overburdened with subject matter. That and the berries and the little wooden board all work together well. Solid base there, but once again, could have been a little bit more dramatic with the background. I suppose it just doesn't work for me, as it were, on that. But technically okay. 15 marks.
15. Warrior monk.
Right. Same sword. Mind you, same person. No castle in the background. Monochrome, change to monochrome. Tonal range is superb. Love the tonal range. Every tone in there. What's his name from Yosemite? Be dead made up. Yeah. Right. Detail, texture, everywhere you need it. Look at the shape there, emphasising, and then the nose all coming round. All that works. And then this little bit over here on the side. A little bit perhaps light on the sword, this part of the sword, can't remember the name, there. But everything else great. Background, like a little bit of halo, light behind. Nothing over bright, nothing too dark. And yet, it's got a narrative, so we'll have another look at that.
Okay. We'll hold the monk.
Hold the monk.
Double crunch.
I know. Oh, I know. It hurts, that one. Once again, double crunch, timing, very, very good indeed. And you know, you wonder what's he actually done to those two. I mean, they're all big lads, and yes, the expression on the face there, you really get it. I think it's a good rugby. You can't even see the ball, can you? It's a good rugby image, and yet there's no ball in there. And yet, you know, I'd love to see what the expression is on the other bloke's face. Is he made up? He's done that, or does it hurt him as much? You can't know. But once again, it's the shape, isn't it? There's almost a nice symmetry to it. Vertical, and then the shape, both shapes like that. But those expressions absolutely make it 17 marks.
17. Spring blossom still life.
I mentioned before about the other still life, how it lacked a little bit of drama, a little bit of something extra. There's no drama in this either, but I think this goes the other way. So it's more, this one, instead of going for drama, texture, heavy texture, this has gone for softness, gentleness. This is more the gentle ooh-ah type of image. And I think the colorization works, the mood about it works this one. Notice with the other one you had the very dark, solid bars. Here, it's a pastel colour and it blends in with everything here. And the arc going round and up there, nice shapes. And once again, at the bottom, there isn't too much to get in the way. You haven't got loads of stuff. You've just got a bit of pinkish, I don't know, wrapping paper, an egg, and some feathers. The only bit that I wasn't 100% with was that there, just because it doesn't stand out enough. But this has got something a bit more about it, and it has got a delicacy, and it's something. Like this one is leaning more towards, for me, the fine art side of photography. So 17 marks.
17. Beverly doing the slalom.
Good on you, Bev. Right, once again, that's a dramatic shot. Timing, spot on. You've caught her at a lovely angle there, and then look at the angle of that. Matching in your lovely V. You've got the toe line going straight across, which gives you the dynamics. Plenty of movements in the water. Look at the texture. Look here where it goes and then just curls up there, and then the sort of background with all the halation spots. Yeah, very good image. Might have been tempted just to lighten the eyes a little bit. I mean, just absolutely enjoying yourself there. Lovely image. 17 marks.
17. Leap of faith.
I know. You look at that and you think to yourself, never. And I don't know why you want to actually, yeah. Oof. But cracking image when you look at it, and you think the bar at the bottom gets in the way. No, it doesn't. It tells the whole story. Right down to the chalk that's coming off the figure there. The only thing I wasn't sure about was the background. Should it be black? Should it have some detail in the background? Should it have something there? And the answer is probably not. I'll worry about that later, Mike. Can you hold it?
Will do. Hold that one. Nursery web spider.
Right, we've seen quite a few insects, and they've all been doing things. This one's just minding its own business, standing there, and the colours once again. Obviously, nature knows what it's doing, and you sort of your technique, you've got those colours absolutely right. And the thing I like about this one is it's a single insect, arachnid, but the detail, the tone, the texture, the details, the relative depth of field, there, right the way through to that leg, going onto the other side. And you've just got some of these lovely blades of grass and what have you, adding a little bit of dynamics to what is otherwise basically a static insect. It's got something more to it than an ordinary, perhaps, nature insect type photo. And the shape of that one coming down to there, I mean, it does what it does, but I think it does it in a really nice, sort of almost pictorial way. It's got that little bit more. And I know there's a big green space over there, but hey, whatever. Hold that one back, please. It's a really nice nature
hold
shot.
that one. Fig bowl.
Fig bowl. Another still life here. This one, this one's got perhaps what the first one had. This one's got a bit of mood, a little bit of drama, a little bit of lighting to emphasise it. The bit at the bottom, the wooden table it's on, it's perhaps just a tad light here. And I wasn't sure whether you needed all them different layers of the table, whether you could just sort of finish it at the second layer about there. The figs and the knight, I think the way in which you've arranged this, I think is nice. I think the shapes up there, the detail, the texture, they stand out nicely. I think that works very, very well indeed. It was just the knife bit. And I know you're using the knife to fill the space over there, and you've got your three figs with your two. Look at the detail and the texture in there. Yeah. I don't know, it's just a knife for me. I don't know whether this should be the other way around. I don't know whether that's sharp edge, where it comes around and disturbs. It's just that little bit. Don't know. I'll give it the benefit of the doubt. Next time you show it, try and lighten that down a little bit. 17, or to change your mind.
17. Right.
Oh, right.
You have held 12.
12. I know that's because I changed. I told you 11, but I changed my mind on one of them.
That's all right.
I've just got to remember which one it was.
Well, we'll stick them all up for you.
Okay. Right. Let's have a look. I'll just go through these on. Right, so can we have the stone curlew in water? You've seen lots of nature shots tonight, most of them being insecty things. I said about this one, lovely detail, and it's got cracking textures in it, but it's got that little bit extra, that sort of, it was like the still lifes where the pinky one had a bit more pictorial quality to it. I think this has got that pictorial quality to it. Don't know whether the legs are as light as that when you look at the colour of the beak, but I'm assuming because everything else looks to be the right colour and the right depth, then that is correct. I do like the space there. You've got a little bit of its surroundings here. I think it's a cracking nature shot. I also think it's a lovely image, and personally, it works for me. So that gets 18 marks.
18. Right.
Right. What have we got now?
Let's find some more for you.
Got it. Here we go. Right, we want something on a grass stem. That's it.
Oh. Yep, something Latin.
Something on a grass stem.
Emphis, something or other.
I think the single insect works well. It's a little bit of a mishmash because it's got legs everywhere. Well, they do that, don't they? But you can see the general shape of the insect. But for me, it was the colours, the fact that it was reasonably sharp all the way over, and it had the one vertical going up there. And once again, it may not be the world's best nature shot, but it's got that pictorial quality to it, and whether the slightest of vignettes would have just thrown a little bit more focus onto it, might have sort of just made that a little bit more special. I don't know, but I think of all the insect ones that we've seen, that is one of the better ones, and I think it deserves recognition for that. So I gave that one 18 marks.
18.
Right, Jack Rowbottom, right across. Yeah, a good shot of the sport, where you can still see the people. It's nothing. To be honest, the only things for that for me, one is as a photograph, it's not my favourite subject, but you've got to look past that. As a photograph, does it work? Is there a narrative to it? Of course there is. Has it been well taken? I think it's been very well taken. Timing, I think, is very, very good indeed. And the things like the ropes, the mat, all that, don't get in the way, but add that little bit of extra. And having the background there nicely muted, doesn't get in the way, makes the whole event live. So for me, just tone down the socks, 18 marks.
18.
Right. There it is, 4 candles, please.
4 candles.
Right. Lovely spooky image. Pity it wasn't Halloween, but it fitted in well. Beautifully taken. Once again, has a nice feel to it. Technique is good. I think the exposure was very, very good indeed. And look the way in which the lighting has sort of given you all the texture of the skull, but kept the eyes dark there. I like the way it goes off into darkness there and disappears on this side as well. Notice how the table it's on is nice and dark. I mentioned that about another one. And yet the 3 candles are arranged nicely, and of course the 4th candle is the one that gives it that little bit extra to me, because it's got the spookiness of the fingers over there and the little whiffs of smoke there. So that's another 18.
18.
I think all the images that we're looking at here are the ones that have that sort of next level, go up into the astral plane. Right, family portrait of the baboons. The relationship between the baboons, the family sort of feeling between them all comes across. I never mentioned it before, but it just doesn't have critical sharpness, I think. But it has more than enough. In fact, you could almost say the slight softness of it sort of emphasises the sort of, for want of a better word, soppy nature of the sort of family grouping. But it's not a soppy nature, it's a protective, loving nature that comes across. That relationship between the two is there, and it's in a brilliantly executed photograph, which compositionally I think is superb with the extra base at the bottom. You might complain that you've lost a little bit of tail off the younger one, but that shows the kind of relationships that baboons have, I think is great again. So another 18 marks.
18.
Right. Warrior Monk. There he is, warts and all. Warrior Monk. As an example of this genre of photography, I think it's a superb monochrome image. Technically, I would hate to try and fault it, because everything about it, apart from, for me, the little highlight being this bit here being too light. Tonal range, the detail where it needs to be, the background, the little bit of halo around it all works, the composition of the hood, all working together. At first I asked myself, do you actually need all this down here? And then the answer is, no, you'd get away with it, but it's better with it, isn't it? Because now it's called Warrior Monk, not just Monk. And it's got a bit more narrative, and you can put the figure off to one side, make it a little bit more pleasing. So as an image like that, it gets, Warrior Monk gets 18 marks.
18.
18, I know, it's great, isn't it? Okay, Pigeon Towers. To me, this is, I think, one of the only images in this set which makes a social comment, a real live social comment about our cities. And it does so in an extremely graphic and pictorial way. Does the sky need to be a little bit darker? Does it blend in a little bit too much to the buildings? No, I think we're okay with it. Is the bird in the right place? Who cares? The fact is, it's got its reflection. Now, you may not be a great fan of this kind of photography, but I think it has impact. It's something you can look at, and this one goes that stage further, as I say, when it makes this comment, social comment about being enclosed, suffocating, claustrophobia, and it has a static subject with a movement, a live subject, all things like that, all work together. If you want to be really picky and go around it, then you've got a little bit of highlights here which you could do something with if you could be bothered, and similarly there and there. But you have to look at it for ages before you start picking on them. So I thought, for me, cracking image. Came here with a score of 18, but it's going home with a score of 19.
19.
Because when it's this size, it has even more impact.
Excellent.
Okay, let's carry on. Let's go to the nursery web spider. There it is. For me, I think, I just want to look at this one from over here. For me, this is probably the best nature image. It just takes the edge off things like the curlew and some of the other insecty ones, simply because it's got the simplicity that the curlew had, but it's got that little bit of pictorialism with the leaves, and it's just those leaves which give it that little bit of dynamism for me, the dynamics of the angles, and of course some movement down towards the bottom corner. Compositionally it works well with that coming to there. Can't fault the exposure, background, and the depth of field is absolutely just what it needs to be. From there to there, spot on. Give it a 19.
19.
Right, leaves us down with 4. I've got marks for them, don't I? I'm just seeing what I've got and then comparing to whether that's what I want to give them or not. Right, number 33. What have we got there? Right, 33 is the one that I added. This is that's the 12th one. Okay, so Let's go that one up, please. Thank you. Right, the Crusader. I think it's called Crusader. Anyway, yeah, the figure's great. Once again, everything works. Maybe just a tad light there, maybe. Works with the background of this genre. It's very good indeed. It's not going to get 19 because it's out of sequence, because it's not on my sheet because I moved it up one. So it's not a 19, but I moved it up from 17 to 18 because once again, when I've looked at it on this big screen as opposed to just my monitor, it's got a lot more impact and it blends, I won't say seamlessly, although I suppose it does blend seamlessly into the background. The background sets the narrative, doesn't get in the way, the main subject works brilliantly, the two go together, definitely worth an 18.
18.
Right. Okay, don't need this anymore. Right, we have a night in the Abbey. Yeah, it's got that spookiness once again, tells a sort of story, suggests various things, and I think, you know, if you try, well, for me, the technique has been very, very well done indeed. Once again, it blends into the background, the tones work, the background doesn't get in the way, it adds a little bit of something to it, and I think, you know, how tempting would it have been to have that arch going round to frame? It doesn't, and I think that helps because it makes it a little bit more realistic. The figure itself is strong. That eye works very, very well indeed. Detail and texture here is spot on. Maybe a tad light there, and it's not meant to be like the warriors and what have you going back into medieval times. It's modern. It's the Joker type of thing here. So with the shirt and the what have you, the leather plastic waistcoat, all still fits in with the steampunk specs on top. All that, it still fits together, and it works because the composition is slightly off in as much as it's right on the edge, and he has to lean in a little bit, so it adds that little bit of edginess to it, which works as well. But I don't know about the light. I can take that light because of the window. I've got one there to match that window, but just this light bit down the bottom here, maybe that's just not needed. Should that be perhaps as dark as that? I think that was why it only gets a 19, possibly, because it just took something away.
Okay, 19.
19, not 9. Right. Okay. Viking or leap of faith? Viking or leap of faith? Doesn't really matter because I think. Do you want to show up big again? Can you do that, Mike? Let me just go here and have a look.
That's Viking.
Okay.
That's leap of faith.
Okay. Thank you. Right, it's just confirmed what I. Okay, we'll have leap of faith, please. For me, if that was mine, I would only make one change. I'd just tone that down a little bit, only a little bit, because it's an integral part of the picture. But you can look at it another way. You can look at it, and I just want to move back one to have a look. It becomes seamless if you look at that and take it down. There. It's as light as the figure, so it becomes part of it. And when you, obviously, you know, it's the sort of balancey thing, you do your somersault. Technically, the shutter speed, your timing is absolutely spot on. You caught an expression on the face, which you really have got to look that way to get it. It looks so weird upside down, But that's the whole thing about the image, isn't it? I mean, you could turn the image the other way up and it would look quite humorous, quite funny. But this way, it looks difficult, it looks hard, it looks edged. And, well, to me, I think it's well worth 20 marks.
20?
Done. And it gets away with the isolation from the background. You don't need figures, you don't need people, you don't need anything, because it's all about that person attempting to do something which looks ridiculous to do, and when you look at the figure and you realise the kind of sort of shapes and expressions that they have to go through. 20 marks.
20.
Right. Which brings us to the Viking. We've seen loads of these tonight, type of things here. But this one is a bit more simple. It doesn't rely on there being a background. What it relies on is the way in which the mist has been grafted in, or whatever you do to it, have a wind machine or whatever. The point is, it looks so realistic, and everything else about it works because the lighting is great. It picks up all the detail in the fur, the eyes, the beard, what have you. Oh, look at the razor sharp tip of the axe there. A little bit of warmth in the belly, a little bit of detail down the bottom, but not enough to get in the way. The hand, now that might be the bit. Should the hand be so big? Well, at first I thought no, and then I thought, well, it gives a bit of 3D once again. It's only a two-dimensional image, but that gives an effect of 3D coming out to actually get you. And a lot of images like this, you have the hand and the axe, and you don't see the hand or you don't see the axe, or it gets behind the head. Here, you've got it complete. The look on the face says everything, get in my way and you're dead. Well, you're going to be dead anyway. And of course, the angle gives it that little bit of dynamics. It's not overlit, it's not underlit, it's not overstated, it's not understated. You know exactly what it's about. And for me, that comes across. So that gets a 20.
Right.
Mike, being the bugger he is, says I have to pick a 21.
Yeah.
Well, I think I probably mentioned this before. When you're judging, sometimes there's two things, isn't there? There's the best photograph and the one you like the best.
Yeah.
And they're not always the same thing. Most of the time, they are the same thing, and you can get away with this. Here, I've got two photographs which are both excellent photographs. They are both the best photographs, which is why they both got 20. Now, do I like one of them more than the other? The answer is yes, I do. Only because one of them I'm really intrigued by. And it's one I would actually put up on my wall. The other one, if I put it up on the wall, it would scare me stiff. Right? So for me, the Viking scares me stiff. But the leap of faith is something I would like to put up and look at. And every time I see it, think, wow. Not only is it a great photograph, but wow. It's doing something that, you know, the laws of physics probably can't explain. And I would love to show, you know, people to come and say, look, have a look at that. So for me, that's the one I like the best. But it's equally as good photograph as the Viking. Is that good enough? Yeah.
Good enough, yeah. Right, thank you very much. Shall we just have a quick look at the held back ones, see whose they are? Look at the 18s. Perfect. Viking. That one was Viv from the Evolve group. And I took the Abbey. Was by Jill from Oldham.
Very good.
Stone Curlew. Was by Steve. Pitching from Evolve. Big Gene Powers with Keith Richardson from Evolve.
Good.
M5th Lividia was Andreas from Oldham. Jack Rowbottom is Eddie's from Oldham.
So Eddie.
Four Candles was Gary's from Oldham. Crusader was Christine's from Oldham.
So.
Family Portrait, the Baboons, was Ryan's from Oldham. Warrior Monk, handsome chap, was Christine's from Oldham. Leap of Faith is Eddie's from Oldham.
So.
And the Nursery Web Spider is Andrea's from Oldham. So, do you want to see some scores?
Yes, please.
We don't.
Right, let's have a see what it does. Oh! Well, definitely getting closer. Getting much closer. Scarily close.
I know just get this judge and you'll be able to beat this.
Right.
Gary, can you just hit the lights, please, love? So, congratulations. Well, thank you for Tillman. I'll come back to you in a sec, Pet. But thank you very much for your time, your effort, your images. Yeah, breathing down our necks a bit now.
We're not too far behind.
No,
We're
you're
all
not.
right with that.
Right, look, need to up our game a bit.
So do we.
But congratulations to everybody from Oldham who had images in as well. Both clubs didn't make it easy for Tillman, so I'd like to thank him for his comments and his scoring. And he's actually, I'm going to use the N word and not be told off, it's really nice. Hang on, I didn't talk about one of those being nice. It's really nice for someone to explain their thought process on how they come to the score, as well as what suggestions for the images. I think we've had a bit more than that from Tillman. For me, it gave that bit extra as to how he arrived at that score. Might not agree with him all the time, right? There's nothing wrong with those matey dunk flies, they were sharp. So, please can we show our appreciation and put our hands together for Tillman's effort this evening. And Oldham, can we just do the same for our visitors as well, please?
Well done. Good lad.
Yeah.
Can I just say thank you for the hospitality? Lovely spread you put on, so thank you very much for that. I think I mentioned earlier, we come with not a great expectation of winning, but our aim was to get closer.
You got pretty close.
And I think if we keep improving, we might get to a day, and it'll be bittersweet if we do, because if we win, then we'll have nothing to aim for after that.
Yeah, you will. Next one. Somebody else.
But we will be trying even harder next time. But thank you for your hospitality.
Really enjoy having you.
Yeah, it was our pleasure.
Good night.
Please take care going home.
Yeah.
And I hope you all get home safely. Same to you lot as well. Please take care, everybody. So I'm going to close the meeting. Chill out. I'll start clearing up.
I need to chill out. Already chilled out.
Yeah.
I put my coat on, and I realised there's a hole in the post where I've been sat, and there's this big draft coming up the post and blowing on the back of my neck. So I know where I was bloody coat.